Hi, hello, hello. Mm. I just want to say that I'm actually coming on here with a simple, particular topic, and I'm just going to speak from the heart. Somehow I found myself obsessing over this video because I think last week when I did an IG story that talked a little bit about purpose, so many of you guys came back and said, yes, I want to learn more about life purpose. And I have made many attempts to actually do this video, and I have just tripped up because what I realized is that I too struggle with life purpose. And so, yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about purpose in general, my experience with chasing my purpose, getting it all mixed up with just some of the internal strife and internal struggle that I was experiencing before I jumped off the corporate hamster wheel 3 years ago, and believing that purpose was going to solve all my problems. I was unhappy because I wasn't living out my purpose. And 3 years later, which is now, I'm still sometimes getting warped up about purpose. Am I really living out my purpose? So I'm finding that a lot of people are actually broaching on this topic. I think it's the season to be really questioning if we are living inside of our purpose. And I just want to share the experience that I had, because 3 years ago, I set out the intention of quitting my job and literally packing my bags and just completely disappearing from the face of the planet, in search of my life purpose. And by the way, I just want to say that if you have the means to do something like that, the financial means, thankfully I had the financial means to be able to just like take a quick break off, or quick break. I would highly recommend it, because sometimes we have to take ourselves out of our natural habitat and expose ourselves to a different setting in order to allow new insights to emerge. And so if you have the capacity to, say like take a few months off, like great. But what I'm feeling too is that a lot of people who may not necessarily have the option to quit their job and go on this, like self-discovery process, they may not necessarily have it all figured out in terms of what their next steps are. So I would not recommend that, because I think that we should all be very grateful for the jobs that we have right now. So just 3 years ago, I was extraordinarily unhappy, and I didn't know why. Now I know why, but I didn't know why back then. And I had all sorts of, just illusions that I was unhappy because I was not living out my purpose. And I just want to say that after having gone through a couple of years of having jumped out of corporate America, I realized that what God was really doing in my life was getting me out of, not necessarily out of that situation, but rather to bring my attention inward. I was actually unhappy simply because I was living inside of emotional patterns that were just not serving me anymore. I was, and a lot of these emotional patterns actually come from, just coping mechanisms that we use as kids to deal with, emotions or trauma that we experienced. And trauma actually expresses itself in very different ways, and it's very unique for each person. Your mom may have said one very, very small thing that was actually like on the surface that looks harmless, but somehow you as a kid really internalized it. And as a result, it became a trauma. And so I basically, was in search of living out my purpose or discovering my purpose, when in fact, like, the purpose that I was jumping into was simply healing and simply learning more about the art and science of being human. I really delved into this topic because I think most people don't know how to be human. They don't understand and certainly, let me just speak for myself, like, I certainly didn't know, and many of my friends don't know, my friends and family and people that I know. Our education system does not teach us the art and science of being human. Most of what we learn in school are all about the external world, but nobody teaches us how to navigate our emotions and our thoughts. And so for me, the purpose back then was for me to simply heal, for me to be able to navigate my internal world so that I can start to unpack whatever is happening inside of me. And so if you're feeling like you are experiencing or you're wondering about your purpose, oftentimes people who are looking for their purpose means that they have lost their sense of meaning in life, right? And oftentimes it just means that we have to look deeper inside and figure out not necessarily what's happening to us, but just to simply get better. I was talking to this potential client who wanted to talk about life purpose, and he was experiencing depression, and he was almost convinced that it's because he wasn't living out his purpose. And I just kind of thought about my own situation where when I was experiencing my own sense of depression, I was never diagnosed or I didn't take any medication for it, but I actually now genuinely believe that I was experiencing depression. That when we lose our sense of meaning, that's when we start to wonder about purpose, right? And sometimes the most immediate purpose that we need to acknowledge is to simply get better. I know a lot of people out there right now are experiencing depression and anxiety, but and I empathize with you because I know how that feels to be living inside of it constantly. But oftentimes, like, the first step is not to look for your purpose, but rather to just simply bring yourself into a state of homeostasis where you can, deal with the emotional experiences that you're having. And so I just want to say that because oftentimes we believe that something external out there is going, including purpose, by the way. We believe that something external out there is going to bring us into, or is going to make the pain go away. But actually, quite the contrary, I don't believe we can find our life purpose when we are living inside of fear and desperation and anxiety. I think the most immediate purpose is to simply make it a priority to feel better, right? Because when I sought out to travel all around the world and find my life purpose, like I said in my IG video, I was actually I was like in this amazing, very green, very luscious environment where you would believe that you would finally experience a sense of tranquility and peace and calm, right? But because I was experiencing extreme levels of sadness and frustration and anxiety, like, it didn't matter that I was in this beautiful island that is Bali. I was still experiencing all of those things. And so the reason why I landed with the Contentment Foundation to begin with is because I felt that anguish, and I felt that it was important for me to not only work on myself, but then while I was working on myself, to also, be able to share that gift with the rest of the world. The Contentment Foundation is, we built well-being tools that allow teachers and students to manage, understand, and process their emotions and life experiences. And so when I finally realized that this was the purpose that of this entire journey, I was able to attract the Contentment Foundation to help facilitate my own healing, but also so that I can make this, something that I can also give back to humanity. Just another thing too that I just want to say about purpose is that it's ever changing. Maybe there are some people out there that, that know their purpose until they die. Like, I don't want to discredit that, that potential, that possibility. But for me, I feel like we go through seasons, and our purpose shifts as we evolve and expand, right? As we connect more to our divine power, for me, it's God, the more that things get revealed. But I wouldn't necessarily go on a journey of finding your life purpose, quite frankly, I think that our life purpose is to expand and evolve. That we will encounter experiences in this lifetime that is meant to expand us and evolve us as spiritual beings. So that to me is, I've kind of seen my life through that lens now, because I can't, even if I was to go through this journey of living out my purpose, I feel that different things pop up, and if I'm so focused on just delivering on this purpose and not necessarily tuning into the energy around me, then perhaps I'm missing the point of life. So making this a life purpose is meaning to evolve and expand and grow has just created a lot of spaciousness for me to read into the energy and make sure that I'm actually doing what I need to do in order to evolve and expand. But just to go back to this point about how purpose is not necessarily, a lifetime thing, but just like, for me, it's small steps. For example, right now, the season I'm in is all about spiritual development. I felt this nudge about 6 weeks ago to go back to my Christian roots and really understand my Christian values through the lens of this greater consciousness that I've experienced in the last 3 years. And, as a matter of fact, I had all these plans to write a book and to focus on my coaching program and also to serve the Contentment Foundation. But right now I'm actually being asked, and I feel led, I'm being asked to simply wait, because there are some spiritual gifts that are being transmitted into me that I have no idea, right? Like what they are. But I'm just going to trust the process. And I've actually been having some phenomenal spiritual experiences that I've never had before. I've always been a spiritual person, but I feel that there has been a veil that's been lifted in recent weeks where I'm now experiencing deeper connections to God and to Jesus and to Mother Mary. So to me, this kind of leads me into a different point that I want to make about purpose, right? I think, for many of us, let me just speak to myself. I've actually done amazing I've had amazing experiences as a human being. I have been able to experience how it feels to thrive in the business world. I know how it feels now to thrive as a human because I've learned the art and science of being human. And recently there was a part of me that just felt stuck. Like I felt like I could keep satisfying the human aspect of me, and really build this thriving coaching program and write a book and all that stuff. But there was a part of me that I felt was missing. It was almost like there was like a tube that was stuck, and I felt like, what's the purpose of all of this? And then that's when I felt the nudge to go on this journey towards expanding my spiritual development. And so the point that I want to make about this is that, sometimes we may reach the top of our human capacity, and experience all of the amazing experiences that this life can offer. And but there's also a purpose for our own spiritual development. So I find that when we don't tap into that aspect of us, then we're missing out on actually making the kind of impact in this world and on ourselves in a way that supports our spiritual journey. I don't even know how to explain this much more concretely because I'm still in the process, but I'll tell you that I'm starting, even at the age of nearly 42, I'm almost 42, I'm starting to tap into a spiritual gift that I had no idea I had. Like, totally dormant. And now I'm tapping into that because I'm much more divinely connected, because I've set the intention. And so I guess what I'm saying is there is, a purpose that, and I find that some of I guess like what I'm really saying about the whole like human aspect of us is, our ego is going to want us to, reach a certain level of status or influence or power or have lots of money. But then there is an aspect of us that is the spiritual aspect of us that extends beyond anything that you could possibly imagine. Just like I said, that I am now tapping into a spiritual gift that I had never thought that I could have. And so I just want to say that purpose, perhaps if you are still on that, that kind of human journey of wanting to achieve this and that, or achieving, success in life, that's something that that is your main purpose for now. But I'm also here to share with you that sometimes there is, or actually all the time, this is what I believe anyway, that there is a spiritual purpose, and we come onto this earth to live out that purpose. But we need to, but also it's important for us to master our capacity to understand how to be human first, so that we can tap into that when we are still healing from trauma and from, the journey of healing never stops, by the way. I'm just saying, like, I guess like for me, I've learned a lot of the tools that I'm still on that journey of healing, but now I understand all of the tools that I need to have in my toolbox in order to live out the greatest potential of my human form. Now I am about to embark on a different journey where what I'm feeling anyway is that I'm being led down a much more spiritual journey where it's going to be, I'm tapping into a different kind of, I guess, like purpose. And I think it's all in service of supporting humanity, because I think that is the season that we're in right now. Humanity is in trouble, and because I also have a heart for serving people and humanity. I know that that is something that God is going to bring upon me, but I want to wait until I actually understand what these spiritual gifts are, that so that I can live out as a mere vessel for for these gifts. So hopefully I didn't confuse you guys further. Oh yeah, the other thing that I just want to say about purpose too is purpose to me is simply a fancy word for intention or motivation. You guys, like purpose, we've I think what the world is experiencing right now is some deep levels of unconsciousness, and the only way that we can get ourselves out of this mess that we're in is to actually raise our own consciousness and become more self-aware of our own patterns and our own, and be responsible for our own energetic fields. And for me, intention is really important in that in everything that I do, I want to be making those choices rather than falling into unconscious patterns or leaving that responsibility in the hands of my ego, who is basically going to just want me to continue to live out those unconscious patterns, even if it's not serving me. So really just understanding your intention in everything that you do is purpose, right? Like, it's so important for us to just be much more mindful and much more aware of how we're showing up in the world and what impact that we're making in small or big ways, and everything else in between, because every moment matters now. So yeah, that's all I had to share about purpose. I know I kind of meandered through this. I didn't really have an agenda. I just wanted to channel and allow, whatever insights that were meant to emerge, and just have a little bit of courage to be able to share this really raw video anyway. And hopefully it supports all of you guys too. I'm so grateful to serve as a mirror for all of you. That's all we are. We're just mirrors. So if this resonates, great. If it doesn't, that's all fine too. And just know that I'm sending all of you love and light. Really, really.